Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. I'm your host, Darnell Radford. Today on the podcast, Connor Hogan stops by to talk about the fringe arts offering, Gilligan Gigs Again, a trivia cabaret on radical self-acceptance. Here is my interview with Connor Hogan for the fringe arts offering, Gilligan Gigs Again. And stick around to the end for a Broad Street Review editorial. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I'm in the virtual studio with Connor Hogan. Connor, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Darnell.
We had such a good time with dinner, and I'm glad that you are doing work in the fringe because I get to experience that. I didn't get an opportunity to experience dinner, and I felt so bad about it. But life happens. Schedules get crazy.
You know, that piece that might always come back. So you might get a chance to do it again. It depends on what the COVID numbers turn out to be.
Yeah, definitely. But I saw the potential in that, and that's ultimately what I thought was really cool about it. Just the fact that, you could mount this whenever you have time. Just create a block and make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah,
now...
yes. So now we're here in this summer of steamy uncertainty because it is hot as blazes outside, and we are raring to go for fringe arts here in Philadelphia. And Connor, you are bringing us an offering called Gilligan Gigs Again.
Yeah.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks, Darnell, for having me, and thanks. I'm really excited to talk about it. So, there's a show I'm doing called Gilligan Gigs Again. It is a trivia cabaret on radical self-acceptance. This has been something I've been working on for the past year almost. I started working on it in March of 2020. And what happened is that, during the pandemic, we were all kind of locked in our houses, and I was reflecting on this character that I created in grad school named Gilligan, and just this immense joy that this character had. He is an out-of-work rock star who's been kicked out of his band, the Gulags, and has had his girlfriend left him tied to a radiator. And he is, despite all of this, optimistic about the future. And I really think that that optimism is what I wanted to capture in this piece, because I think right now we're all feeling a little stuck, and we're all feeling a little unsure of what the world is going to be. And what I wanted to put out in this piece is how do we get unstuck? How do we learn to accept the circumstances that we're in, and learn to love ourselves in spite of all of that? And it opens September 9th at the Victoria Freehouse in Old City. And it's going to be a rocking good time. There's going to be songs, there's going to be trivia questions, and there's going to be a lot of self-love. So
cool.
Yeah.
So tell me how much of this character and the world that Gilligan is in was there at the beginning?
So I started working on this character in grad school when I went to Pig Iron Theater for grad school, and we Quinn Bardell, who's the head of the program, he has this one exercise that he leads us through, where he makes us look at pictures. And through looking at these pictures, we have to think like, okay, what if this picture moved and breathed? How could it become a character? And through that exercise, I became really enamored with this picture of a wall of bubblegum. Have you ever seen these walls of bubblegum? They're like kind of like, it's really gross looking, but it's like people have like chewed bubblegum and then like stuck it on a wall, and it takes up like the whole wall. Do you know what I mean?
Only under desks. Only under desks and banisters.
yeah, but it's all gross and chewed up, and so I was looking at this picture of, and it was all these different colors, right? It was like bright pink and like yellow and green, and like they were like, some of them were like sticky and some of them were like slimy and like kind of stretching out, and I looked at this picture, and I started thinking of like this just guh, like guh, 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 like kept like coming back, and as a sound, and I stretched my body in a really like lanky way that like kind of made me flop over to the side, and like the first words out of my mouth from that exercise were like, we gotta get to the gig, we gotta get to the gig, get the gig, get into the gig up the gigarator, and then get out and get into the gig. And that was the beginning of Gilligan. And he then took on like a whole nother life when I performed for the cabaret class. He was kind of my cabaret character. And I don't know, like bubblegum, he always kind of stuck to me, and he always made me feel like there was something still there. So I started exploring it more with my friend Rachel Hines, who is a deviser in DC. And we put together this idea that Gilligan is this, like I said, rock star who's been kicked out of his band, and the only gig that he can book right now is this trivia night. And because he's not a trivia host, he does terribly. And then the piece grows from there. So yeah, I had been working on it for a while, and then the world kind of, as you said, the world really blossoms out from that. Once you start with like one seedling, it kind of continues to expand and grow, and to spaces that I'm still even kind of questioning myself. And we open in 2 weeks, so
yeah. So the piece revolves around self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And so that makes me wonder, is Gilligan an extension of your thoughts, fears, etc.?
Yeah, probably. Well, I think that there's a point in the show where Gilligan talks about these different voices that keep coming back to him, and in a way that we all kind of talk to ourselves, like Darnell, I'm sure you're like, where are my keys? Or
oh my God, full length. I should have voice memo for the amount of conversations I have with myself.
Exactly. And I think that like I think during the pandemic, we all kind of were faced with those voices, right? We were kind of stuck inside, so we had to listen to those voices that are deep down inside of us. And some of those voices are mean. I mean, sometimes they tell you that you can't do things, and that you are less than, and that you are you're lacking, and they're critical of you. I mean, how many times have I said to myself, that was stupid, and just as like a flippant comment, not as like an actual critique, but those things still land.
Yeah.
And I guess what I always kept coming back to is that, like, if Gilligan is an extension of myself, he's kind of this positive force. He's this confidence that I don't I sometimes lack, and I think that everybody can use, and I think that it's really important that we think about those voices that are kind of constantly running through our heads, and think, how can I talk to myself better? How can I be kinder to myself? And how can I control that ongoing monologue and make it something that is beneficial to me? So that's a roundabout way of answering that. Like, yeah, I've got like a lot of different characters in my head, and Gilligan is just one of them that talks to me.
Yeah, there is this thought that criticizing ourselves first is better than hearing criticism from, the outside world. But what happens there is we've already built a foundation of criticism, and we laid it. So, we're layering criticism on top of it, but we can't even get past the foundation we built for ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
And I guess the goal is to try to build this solid, positive foundation that is always uplifting, so that it not conflicts, but it combats that criticism that comes from outside sources.
Well, yeah, and sometimes that outside criticism is helpful. I want people to tell me, well, I mean, not after my show, but I want people to say, like, this could change or that could change, because that can be helpful. But it's when criticism kind of has no action that it's not helpful, and yeah, it can be detrimental. And also, just like hearing you say that, I was thinking about how this quote that this gentleman said to me the other day, that's fallen off my desk, but that's not it. But this idea that we're always telling stories, right? And this interview is a story that I'm telling you about this piece, but then on top of that, we're always telling ourselves stories about who we are. And it's really the intersection of those stories, the stories we tell others and the stories we're telling ourselves, that formulate how we go about the world. And I think that that's really prescient right now, because there's misinformation out there. There is like a lot of different combating perspectives, and if we can start accepting a story of self-kindness, of learning to love who we are, I really think that we can learn how to love each other, and we can really learn how to make a better world. I know it sounds really simplistic, but I don't know. I'm kind of a wide-eyed optimist right now, or at least I'm trying to be.
I often say something along the lines of, I know it sounds simple, but the reason it sounds simple is because it is that complicated to make it complicated.
Yeah.
There's so much more involved in that. Like I think they say, it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, it's the same thing. It's like, why not look at this from a positive? Even though there are obstacles, let's find the positive through this. Yes, we're aware that there are obstacles. Like, it's hot outside. If I want to go, to Rita's to get water ice, I've got to brave that heat.
Right.
But the reward is I would be at Rita's, but when I get there.
Right.
I don't know why I said Rita's.
Your water ice will melt, right?
Exactly, but it might melt in my mouth.
That's true.
In my hands.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And but we have to look at what would make it worth it.
Yeah.
Instead of what are the obstacles ahead of us.
Yeah.
And yes, there's so much going on in the world that pushes against that and doesn't give us the opportunity to see the positives right off. And we usually pick up on them later. And this is why there are so many stories out in the world, because it is a character's journey, before this moment of clarity happens. And the thing they need to see from the very beginning wasn't clear because the world said, oh, you're trying to make things good for yourself. Okay, I'll be the judge of that. I'm going to throw a bunch of obstacles in front of you.
Right.
And see, and see if how bad you want this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I know that as theater people, we felt a lot of those obstacles before.
Oh my God. I feel like the past couple of, of course, yeah, all through this pandemic, I've been thinking about emotions and being artists and how artists are full of emotions. And I just remember that line from the First Wives Club when Goldie Hawn says, I am an actress. I have all of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which can often make our partners crazy.
Oh my God. Geez. I'm often sitting with myself going, am I the one that's driving us crazy? Or is he driving me crazy? And
right.
then I'm like, what if it is me? And I'm saying, okay, the only thing I can do is the work for myself. So let's just assume it's me. And what can I do to change this situation? So I often think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned voices deep down inside.
Yeah.
And what are the voices deep down inside of you telling you?
Oh man. Well, right now it's funny. This is my first time doing a solo piece. I've worked a lot in duos and I've worked a lot in ensembles. So I think that there is like I'm trying to call it excitement or anxiousness, but like this like combination of like anxiety and excitement that about doing this piece. And a friend of mine said to me, you're going through birthing pains, and that's really how it feels right now.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm really I'm excited about the show, and I'm excited to put it out into the world and see how everyone reacts to it. And I'm also anxious, and because I want to do a good job, and I want it to be an enjoyable experience, and it will. I mean, it really will. I think that if I'm having fun, then it's infectious. Everyone else will.
Could we look at opening night as going into labor?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh my God. Well, I mean, I guess, but then previews can also be like just a long extended labor, right?
Like contractions, maybe.
Contractions. Yeah.
Here we are.
Speaking of which, if everyone's listening to this, they should also see The Choice by Influx Theater, which is a show about pregnancy and women exploring pregnancy. But that's off topic. We should stick on my show.
No, actually, I'm asking everyone for a fringe recommendation. So thank you.
Oh, that's definitely one of my fringe recommendations. Yeah, Great. The Choice by Influx Theater at Christchurch House.
Great. Note.
Yeah, but also it's this thing about questions, right? Like, like going up to opening night, there are so many questions that go through your head that you're asking yourself, and I think that like that's also kind of how people go through the world. There are questions that we have sometimes, and like I said, going back to the theme of talking to yourself, sometimes those questions are hard to answer, and we don't have answers to them. And I think that can get the voices going more, and that can get the voices really spinning when you don't have an answer to what feels like, a simple question like, am I safe going to the grocery store? Can I, hug my grandparents? I mean, that and those are questions that we were asking, but now, there are whole new frightening questions that we don't know the answer to. And I think that's and that is one of the reasons why trivia is such a big part of this show, is because there are these questions that we have that we can't answer, and And it's like learning A, to be okay with the questions that we can't answer, and B, trying to seek out answers from other people when we need help.
Yeah.
That was like a really hard left detour, but I feel like I tied it in.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Sure, we have knowledge, but it's almost like we sort of never have the answers. It's all discovery.
Right.
You know, but there's sometimes we have this confidence about our path forward where we just feel like this is the right direction. So we're guided by that, even though we are still like unclear of what's going to happen. So I think it is a whole lot of like reminding ourselves that we got this.
Yeah.
And you know, we did it before and we will do it again.
Yeah, we will.
And we will get through it. And it may not look the same. It might be different, but we might see we might see moments that resemble, how we handled things in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, to in research for the show, I went to a lot of trivia nights because I knew that I wanted there to be this like theme of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw in these trivia nights is like, to your point about how, like, you know, we'll get through this. We have to remind ourselves that we'll get through this. That what I saw in these teams that people, you know, get together in, you realize that, like, you know, and Darnell, have you gone to trivia before, or do you go to trivia often? Do you know how go ahead.
Haven't gone in a while, of course, but yes.
Right. And like, if you were to go to trivia, what would you say your like specialty is? Because, you know, like everybody has like a specialty.
Well, I would feel overwhelmed if it was very specific, like Simpsons trivia.
Sure.
Because I've seen a lot of Simpsons, but not enough to be, a comic book guy. But I think in general, pop culture, is great. And I do remember being at trivia where theater or musicals come up and I'm on a team and everyone
and you
looks
know
at
it.
me like, you got it. We're
Exactly.
gonna kill in this category.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there are those moments where you know, I would see in these trivia teams and in myself that people would have these like specialties, right? Like you would be the pop culture theater guy, or like, you know, I know some people are really good at sports. I'm not. I weirdly have like a lot of weird knowledge about biology that is just like tucked deep in my brain. And it's this like this idea that like people look at each other for the answers, and they, not one person, and even the more kind of like beautiful thing of somebody saying like, you know, they're asking a question about, you know, this musical on the French Revolution, you know, was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and somebody could say like, oh, that's like lay something, and then somebody else comes in and is like, that's Les Mis, because they might not have known that answer, but then because somebody like spurred something else in them, that they like they together found it. And I guess like that's a way that we can work. Like we can, in society, like by being honest and open and saying like, you know, this is my experience, this is what I saw, and then somebody else over here saying like, I'm having this kind of thing and I'm not sure, then someone else can be like, I think I know how to help. And that's really what I want to inspire in this piece, is this idea of finding the answers in yourself, finding the answers in other people, having this journey towards loving yourself and loving everybody together.
Yeah.
Except for, you know, people and then people shut themselves off. There are those that do that too. And that's not helpful. And we don't really cover those in Gilligan Gigs Again. But like there is that idea of like, you know, people have a really rigid mindset of how they think their life is going to go. And I think that, yeah, yeah, that's not helpful to society.
So, what's the theme?
Oh, the themes? The themes are like, there's a lot of themes, but yeah, definitely questions. Oh, the
It's
themes for
all,
trivia. Oh,
yeah,
it's
is
like
it
a
all over the
general,
place
it's a general, yeah, I see what you're
okay.
saying. I was like, themes, what are you talking about? This is what we've been talking about, Darnell. No, there are a lot of different themes
Okay.
of trivia. And there is
Yeah,
a,
some of us might want to research ahead of time.
oh, yeah. Well, I will say there are some questions in the trivia that will be unanswerable. But there are also, there's going to be a name that tune round. There's going to be a sports round. And yeah, I mean, at the end, everyone will know something at this gig, is what I try to say.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you some producer questions.
Okay, sure.
Any concerns about a trivia that is, I'm assuming it's grouped, so there's audience participation in a
Yeah.
pandemic.
Oh, yeah. Do you, well, our COVID protocols are, we're requiring proof of vaccination at the door, and everybody has to be masked. So, and the way that the groups are going to work is that each table is going to be a group. And, if you don't like that table, you can always move to a different table, or you can pull tables together. I mean, it's very much like a bar trivia. And yeah. So, and, we're the Fringe Arts has been very, very helpful about, providing us with COVID protocols. All of Fringe's curated shows are requiring proof of vaccination. I myself am going to get tested in between each show, and those risks are real. And we're doing everything we can to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, it's a time like this that makes me think about, before this, if you're a small theater company or you're a production entity, you're wearing many hats, and
Yep.
it was already tedious enough to wear those many hats and then be a performer or be the deviser,
Right.
in the back end, front of house before the show starts, and,
Right.
and
Right.
you're doing all of these things, and now you have compliance to be concerned about too. All of these signs always point to, like, this is why the arts matter, and that we have to support the arts however we can, because in order to keep people safe, in order to allow people to escape,
Yeah.
their day, and go on a ride with us, so that we can all live fuller lives. Like, I don't think it's a value to any of us to just kind of sit through life without any experiences. I think that's why there is so much art to consume, because all of it contributes to an experience, and it is great self-care.
Yeah.
Theater
Yeah.
is great self-care.
Well, and I mean, it is different now, and I'm glad that we have these protocols, because at least we can all agree. If the event requires a proof of vaccination, then we can all agree that we are vaccinated and that we are looking out for each other. And I want audiences to feel safe, because I don't think that they can necessarily enter my piece if they don't feel safe. So that's the first step. And if that causes more production headaches, then I'm willing to take an ibuprofen.
Well, I want to think that the theater community has their finger on the pulse, as we have always.
Right.
We are aware of what we need to do to keep ourselves safe, and we have done it. and we did it ahead of time because we wanted theater to come back so quickly.
So quickly. I agree.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be good. I think, people have been fortunate enough to experience some work outdoors. Currently, we've got some outdoor theater going on, but just that assembling again, people have been feeling much better about that. And, I can't wait. I mean, Fringe opens up our theater season, and it's like, well, if we're going to have a Fringe that we're actually paying attention to, we're back,
Right.
So let's have that mindset that we're back. We might be back with stylish masks,
Right.
We might be back with vax cards. Yeah,
right.
We'll be. But we're going to do whatever we got to do to get back there.
Yeah.
And we're just going to, weave it into the fabric of what we need to do to make sure that we have great experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's fine. So I want to ask you, what do you think? So is there a bit of this that is cabaret-ish?
Oh yeah, it's like totally a cabaret piece.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a magical karaoke machine that it makes a big part of the show, but yeah, it is a cabaret trivia experience. And I think that like the power of cabaret is connection, and is to be with people, and Dito van Rigersberg, who's also Martha Graham Cracker, was one of my cabaret teachers, and was my one cabaret teacher, and they always said, it gives you permission to do things with people, permission and play, and I think that's something selfishly that I really wanted. I wanted to play with people again. And it allows us to kind of be vulnerable together. I mean, that, and also like vodka, like which there will be plenty of at the show. But yeah.
Yes. I feel like every drink is a vodka something.
Yeah, vodka something.
That answered my question. I was going to say, why do we love cabarets? Yeah.
Oh,
it's the connection.
It's the connection, and also like it's the opportunity to I mean, like, I'm literally getting to be a different person, but at a cabaret, everyone gets to be a different person. I mean, you all get to kind of decide who you're going to be tonight and how you're going to interact with the performer. I mean, I think that's really what a good cabaret performer lets you do. It lets you kind of let loose and fly. So I hope to give that experience to my audience.
Let your flag fly.
Let your flag fly.
So as we wrap up, I want to ask you, how do you get unstuck when the world wants otherwise?
Breathe. Recognize that this moment is just this moment, and control only what you can control and let the rest go.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm still growing, and I think we all are. And I would ask, how do you do it?
It's so it's amazing what breathing can do. It's like a simple thing. I have a smartwatch that reminds me to breathe. And it seems like the simplest thing, but it senses that my heart rate might be up in a way that doesn't make sense. It's like you're not moving, but your heart rate is up. Maybe this is a time to get back to you. And there are mindfulness, practice you can employ too. But yeah, I think we're always so focused on what we can do next or what we have to do next, and we feel that sense of obligation all the time. We're not really required to do a fraction of the things we feel like we have to do. And we just have to remind ourselves of that. It's like, how much of this is really pressing? You know, there's always an allocation of time to do that. And if you can't do it all today,
Yeah.
It'll be there for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you can pick
Yeah.
up on it later, so you don't have to feel like this is pressing unless you don't give yourself enough time. So a lot of my the way I get unstuck is space. So I did this probably into the third season of producing Rep Radio, where I realized, you know, if I put a 2-hour reminder on every meeting, I will have more than enough time to switch gears by then. It does not
Yeah.
matter what I am doing, so I don't have to think about anything. And you know, I prepare as soon as I secure a meeting. I prepare while I drop in key information. I usually ask like generic, you know, leading questions, and then I'm just prepared to be present. So I give myself 2 hours. I give myself a nice buffer around the things I have to do, and I know that's not always possible, but I don't physically drive a vehicle, so it is helpful to go on those walks and you know, to let some mode of transportation get me there, because then I don't have to think about that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just reclaim my time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do try. I do try a lot to reclaim my time. There are certain times where I am just, you know, that I'm not that IT guy that works from 8:30 to 5
Yeah.
at, you know, 6:41. It's like that's not me right
Yeah.
now. You know, so I definitely it does sound like I try to put everything in a box, and it may sound like I'm a little excessive about it or obsessive about it, but
No.
I think I just know that works for me. I wouldn't push it on anybody else, but I know that that works for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, space. You know, being able to sit somewhere and realize that I'm not required to do anything right now. So anything I do in this moment is, you know, my choice and at my pace. So that is always usually helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to, you know, in this long intermission, realizing that the 5 to 7, you know, it is rush hour for a lot of people. They're still commuting, trying to get home. It
Mhm.
used to be happy hour for many people who were out, you know, shaking off the work day.
Yeah.
But it's also a window of time where there isn't, where it's where you can consume in the background. You know, if you do follow the news in that window of time, you can have it in the background and just absorb what needs to be absorbed, and you can still kind of relax, or you can just turn that off and not worry about it.
Yeah.
So I find those pockets which really work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I agree. Finding those pockets of time for yourself.
That and escaping into a theater.
Yeah, which is a great segue to let you know that Gilligan Gigs Again opens on Thursday, September 9th at 8 p.m. It runs until Friday, September 24th. It's performing at upstairs of the Victoria Freehouse, which is in Old City. Tickets are $18, and you can get them at the Fringe Arts website. Please come out. It's going to be a great time. And then also check out The Choice by Influx Theater. It's my dear friend Jacinta Yelland deciding whether or not she's going to have a baby on stage in front of everybody. It's great. And also, I want to give a quick shout out to my dear friend Adam Montgomery, also known as Diva Baby. They will be doing Diva Baby Fun Time, I think September 13th, 16th, September 16th, as part of the Free Fringe, and it's going to be also a hilarious time. So please come check it out. All of those shows, but also just
That's
mostly
great.
Gilligan Gigs Again. Come see Gilligan Gigs Again.
I'll find those links and I'll put them in as additional things to add to your Fringe dance card. Connor, it's always a pleasure
Thank
talking to
you.
you and learning more about your work. Thank you for being the artist that you are and sharing your work with us. And yeah, and of course, you're not going to stop doing
Oh,
that.
no, I
So
can't.
you have to definitely come back and talk to us about whatever you've got next, but not to rush this off the stage. We're gonna tune into Gilligan Gigs Again as part of Fringe Arts as we emerge from this intermission, which we are all excited to do. So, Connor, thank you so much for taking the time to unpack Gilligan and talk about self-acceptance and self-care and all the avenues we strayed on, but managed to stay the course to get the point across. But thank you so much. This was a pleasure. Had a lot
Thanks,
of fun.
Darnell. I love coming on, and yeah, I love talking to you.
Stay tuned for a Broad Street Review editorial.
I'm Elena Johns, and I'm BSR's editor-in-chief, coming to you from my home office in South Philadelphia. This is my editorial, titled, "If you think ramps and elevators are a good idea, why not support image descriptions too?" A version of this article was originally published on January 5th, 2021. We want the BSR community to be accessible to everyone, including blind people who use the internet with the help of screen readers. That's why, with our new website, launched in July 2021, custom image descriptions are now in the alt text of every photo we run, available to everyone who uses screen readers. Visual impairments affect a lot of people in the US and worldwide. Some are, by a clinical definition, legally blind with little to no vision. But many more people have a wide range of visual impairments that may not amount to blindness, but still affect how they move through the world. In 2010, the World Health Organization estimated that 285 million people of all ages around the globe were visually impaired, and 39 million of those were blind. The National Federation of the Blind reported a U.S. survey with more than 7 million respondents ages 16 and older who had a visual disability in 2016. The same year, according to NFB, there were 298,500 people with a visual disability living in BSR's home state of Pennsylvania. Visual disabilities intersect with other identities. According to the National Institutes of Health, white women make up the largest proportion of people affected by blindness and visual impairment, but African Americans currently make up the second highest proportion of these folks, due in part to their disproportionate risk for illnesses like glaucoma. Age matters too. The WHO estimates that 82% of blind people worldwide are age 50 or above. And an NIH study predicts that as baby boomers age, the number of people with blindness or visual impairment in the US will more than double by 2050. So how does an image description differ from a caption? Captions give you extra information about an image you're already perceiving, things like where and when the picture was taken, who's in it, or a fun fact associated with the image. The American Anthropological Association defines an image description and offers good tips and examples. It's a detailed explanation of an image that provides textual access to visual content. Image descriptions tell you, simply and directly, what is in the image when you can't see it for yourself. And, as the AAA notes, image descriptions can also be helpful for some sighted people who process images better alongside language. Most photos on Instagram lack descriptions, excluding blind people like myself from conversations and critical information, writes human rights lawyer Haben Girma in a recent Instagram post. She's the author of Haben, the deaf-blind woman who conquered Harvard Law. The computer programs blind people use to navigate Instagram can read the text and captions, but the programs miss the important details in photos she explains. She urges her followers to commit to writing image descriptions. Even if you are a sighted person and you think there are no blind or visually disabled people in your circle, unlikely, why would you want to exclude any interested person from your platform by neglecting image descriptions? Building your audience and facilitating broader engagement isn't a bad thing. Everyone benefits when you make this effort, including you. And notice what Girma says, not just that blind people should have access to images, but access to conversations. Images are an important part of how we communicate, especially in the digital age, from informational graphs on COVID-19 to election memes. There's no reason to exclude anyone from learning and laughing through images online. And when people like Girma can fully access online media, it's not only blind people who benefit, but also sighted people who now enjoy dialogue with voices they may not have previously known. BSR is richer for perspectives from Danny Ocean Jackson, a blind writer and musician whose essays have probed discrimination in the arts, the power of play, and our notions of heroes. And BSR looks forward to welcoming more blind artists and writers. Writing image descriptions can also make us think more carefully about what images we are curating and displaying, and why. And working on descriptions can raise fruitful questions, especially for those in the media. Who do these photos represent? How do we describe traits like race, gender, age, disability, or size in a way that eliminates stigmatizing or stereotyping assumptions? This habit of thinking benefits everyone. Last summer, we got a reminder of how important images are to representation, or the lack thereof, when a scandal involving racial bias and alleged sexual harassment engulfed Philly's playpen. Local theater artist Terrell Green sparked the inquiry when he pointed out that photos accompanying a Metro newspaper story about the upcoming playwriting conference implied that multiple participating playwrights were Black, when in fact only one was. What went largely unexamined in the resulting commentary at the time was the fact that images don't appear in media outlets at the sole discretion of the organization being covered. Images may be provided, and writers and ultimately editors determine what runs. Arts institutions and media outlets should consider carefully who is represented in published images and why. These are all questions that stay top of mind when you do the work of describing your photos, reflections that benefit everyone. And even if you're not representing an institution or professional media outlet, you can bring those reflections to your own social media channels or website and stay aware of who is represented elsewhere. As the playpen scenario proves, large platforms must listen when readers and supporters team up to say something isn't right. If you think public buildings ought to be open to people using wheelchairs and other mobility aids, with ramps, elevators, and accessible seating and bathrooms, then why not practice the use of image descriptions as well? The principle of welcoming everyone into the space is the same. This is why the current BSR team always notes when a performance or event we cover offers captions, an ASL translator, audio description, sensory-friendly features, and other accommodations. We believe providing this info at a glance should be standard in arts media, and the resulting welcome benefits everyone, enriching the cultural community with artists, audiences, and perspectives that are often excluded. Because a world where every person using a wheelchair can get into the building, where every deaf person can read a caption or watch a translator, and where every blind person using the internet can access all the content and conversation, is a world where we don't have to fear, dread, or stigmatize disability at all. And yes, you guessed it, wouldn't that be great for everyone?
Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Contribute to find out how. Connect with us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Broad Street Review. Thank you for helping to keep the conversation going.